Peace. Welcome to the YouTube live book reading of The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality by Dr. Cheikh Anta, translated, and we got the editing from Mercer Cook. I'm your moderator and narrator, Uriel Riley. And here we go. 8th chapter. We pick up at page 165, down at the bottom. Peace, YouTube. Wow. What an amazing run. This is so powerful that been meditating all day with this amethyst energy. So peaceful. The peaceful part of YouTube where we read books and learn from masters. Thank you so much for being here. Here we go. All right. This is the 35th reading of this book. Masterful book. Peace, YouTube. One observation that could prove Herodotus' statement about the Egyptians' woolly hair is the artificial coiffure still worn by Black African women. Why would a white woman with naturally beautiful hair hide it under the coarse, artificial hair due of the Egyptian? We should rather view this as a manifestation of the Black woman's constant anxiety over the hair problem. In any case, it is obvious that we cannot rely on the quality of the hair to guarantee the whiteness of the race. All right. Page 166 at the top. New section. An enslaved Black race. An enslaved Black race. Certain books attempt to spread the notion of an enslaved Black race living throughout antiquity alongside a white race and slowly transforming the characteristics of the whites. Contacts between these two races as far back as prehistory can be taken as an authentic fact, without any determination on our part as to the importance of those contacts in the different regions where they took place. But objective examination of the documents available from the distant epochs compels us to reverse the relations. It has been attempted a priori to establish between those two races, from Elam to Egypt to Diolufoy's excavations, revealed that the first Elamite dynasties belonged to the Black race. Series of the Amoration statutes show us a white race captive in Egypt beside an unfettered Black race. The white race did not liberate itself completely until the close of the Aegean epoch, which marked the arrival of northern Mediterranean on the scene. All right, next section. Down at the bottom of page 166. Thank you for the likes and subs. We're pushing towards 700 subs on this peaceful part of YouTube where we read books. So thank you so much for being here. Highest heart, love, and honor. Mia. All right. Walaikum salam. Reddish brown color of the Egyptians. Reddish brown color of the Egyptians. It seems quite probable that the infiltration from prehistoric times of the conquered captive race depicted on those statuettes may have helped to whiten the Egyptians' complexion. In other words, it seems likely that a white minority appeared later to graft itself onto an early Negro substratum because of the valley's attraction for the coarse Aryan and Semitic shepherds. But what is certain is the preeminence of the Negro element from the beginning to the end of the Egyptian history. Even the intensive crossbreeding of the Low Period did not succeed in eliminating the Negro characteristics of the Egyptian race. This mixture of the Egyptian Negro and the Proto Semite or Aryan followed a fan like development in the course of Egyptian history as a result of commercial trends. During the Aegean epic, it is reflected in the kidnapping of Io by the Phoenicians. In fact, the Phoenicians, a Negro people, more or less cousins of the Egyptians, served as their mariners throughout that period. Among other commercial exchanges between a civilized Egypt and a then barbaric Europe. They engaged in the white slave trade. To Io, as we have noted, kidnapped from Greece, they sold to the pharaoh for a high price because her white skin was a rarity, merely symbolized that trait. It would be extremely difficult to deny or minimize the extent of such trading. This could explain the so called reddish brown complexion of the Egyptians, though they continue to have thick lips, mhm, even everted, a mouth a bit too wide, and a fleshy nose, to quote Maspero. Obviously, the Egyptians never ceased being Negroes. Mm, mm. The special color attributed to them can be seen today among millions of Negroes in all parts of Black Africa. It is common to mention the mastaba or Egyptian tomb paintings as a place to distinguish the Nahasi from the Ramtu or the Ramitu, that is, the blacks from the so called Egyptians. That is tantamount in distinguishing Wolof from Bambara, Malsi from Tukola, and mistaking the latter for whites, or for a race distinct from the black race represented by the Wolof. For an African, this is an accurate evaluation of the distinctions usually made on the basis of Egyptian paintings, or it would be it if it were possible to date those paintings with some degree of certainty. Moreover, all those mastaba paintings were known before Champollion. Those color shades had been seen before. It had nonetheless been affirmed that the types depicted were Negroes, because up to that time, Egypt had always been recognized as a Negro country. Egyptian art itself was considered Negro art and therefore uninteresting. See here, let's put it here because we want to shine light on that. It's one of those lessons. Don't judge a book by its cover, right? Looking at art, if you look up close at it, you don't see everything. And they teach you this when you go throughout museums and starting to learn about paintings and art. And then you can, when you stand back and then you look at it and you can see the strokes in the pen or what type of colors were etched in, you know, where the strong lines are. I have to look back, you know, you get a different point of view. Especially with art. So when people don't see themselves in certain art, it becomes uninteresting to them. And that was the point of why we put a pin there, because you have to, when you're looking at the scope of history and stuff, can't just go on what people say. You have to go on all of the angles and what did they not say. Yeah. This opinion did not change until the day it was recognized with amazement that Egypt was the mother of all civilizations. Then eyesight suddenly improved, and it was possible to distinguish on the frescoes where everyone had previously recognized Negroes evidences of a white race with red skin, a white race with dark red skin, a white race with black skin, but never distinguished as Egyptians, a white race with white skin. Next section. Down at the bottom of page 167, in this peaceful part of YouTube where we read books and learn from masters. I'm Master Fitness Trainer Uriel Riley, coming to you live from the light here in LA. Thank you so much for being here. Peace, peace. Yeah, we do it. That's how we have to do. The inscription on the stele of Philae. Because of this inscription, which marked off the border between the Meroitic Sudan and Egypt after the troubles of the 12th dynasty, it is often concluded that this separated two distinct races, that this stela barred blacks from entering Egypt. Such a conclusion is a grievous error. Such conclusion is a grievous error. For the term black was never used by the Egyptians to distinguish the Meroitic Sudanese from themselves. Egyptians and Meroitic Sudanese belong to the same race. They designated each other by tribal and regional names, never by epithets related to color, as in cases involving contact between a black race and a white race. If modern civilization should disappear today, but leave libraries untouched, survivors could open almost any book and perceive immediately that persons living south of the Sahara are called blacks. The term Black Africa would suffice to indicate that the habitat of the black race. Nothing similar is found in Egyptian texts. Whenever the Egyptians use the word black, Kem, it is to designate themselves or their country. Kemet, land of the blacks. Not one of the many modern texts in authentic that mentions the term blacks as if it had ever been used by the Egyptians to distinguish themselves from Negroes. Whenever these texts relate some fact reported by the Egyptians about blacks, it is in distortion. It is a distortion. They translate Nahasi by blacks in order to serve the cause strangely. Enough the word Cushite becomes incompatible with the idea of blacks as soon as it refers to the first inhabitants who civilized Arabia before Muhammad, the land of Canaan, prior to the Jews, Phoenicia, Mesopotamia, prior to the Assyrians, Chaldin, Chaldean, Epic, Elam, India, before the Aryans. This is one of the many contradictions that betray the specialist's fear of revealing facts that must have detected. Their reasoning process can perhaps be described as follows. Peace. Right, right. Yeah, happy days. But today I'm 17,105 doing it. Down in the middle of page 168 of this 35th reading of The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality by Dr. Cheikh Anta. And we're in the 8th chapter about to close out. Let's do it today. How about that? Yeah. We'll have the rest of our Thursday and Wednesday to prepare. Hi, it's Heart Love. Given the ideas I have been taught about the Negro, even if the evidence proves objectively that civilization was created by the said Negroes, Cushites, Canaanites, Egyptians, etc., it must be wrong. By searching diligently, we must be able to find the opposite. Thus, the sure and dispensable method to discover the truth contained in these documents, despite appearances, rests in the interpretation of such terms as Cushite, Canaanite, etc. Though these words in the documents mean blacks, this is an obvious mistake. Let us therefore say that any race is involved except the black race, or perhaps a black race that is not black, the brown race, for example. I told you you have to get used to his his humor. But it's so imperative, to reasoning. And that's when you can critically think, you can say and deduce when someone's telling you a falsehood, which is very needed in this world right now. Because that's why we came so far. People literally start to glorify the bad guys and make the younger generation think the bad guys are good guys. It's just, it's atrocious. So humiliating it and making it understandable for the next generation is what's very important as us as the real superheroes of the games are, is to, you know, flip their usage of force resonance back on them. There you go. That's why you see my channel is I just put out content after content after content. You just see if I can flood it with content. Hey, it's getting through. It's working. And it's going to be something new every time. That's the best part. Unpredictable, but predictable. Yeah. A similar falsification occurs when ancient authors such as Herodotus, Diodorus, or the first Carthaginian travelers are quoted. We are given to believe that those authors distinguished between Egyptians and blacks. This is true of Della Fosse, by no means the only one, when he writes in Le Nord de l'Afrique, page 21 and 20. A passage in Herodotus' history is very indestructive in this regard. In Book 2, paragraphs 29 to 30, the Greek author has more or less fixed us the northern limits reached in his day in the Nile Valley by the blacks, whom he calls Ethiopians. These limits are almost identical with those attained in our day. Blacks were already found, he tells us, above the Elephantine, Aswan, that is to say, upriver from the first cataract, some of them sedentary, others nomadic, living side by side with the Egyptians. Top of page 169. Checking this against the original, we can perceive the distortion. It leads us to believe that, according to Herodotus, blacks and Egyptians were different. Book 2 of Herodotus, which Delafosse quotes, informs us that the Egyptians had black skin and woolly hair. This is the process by which ancient authors are made to say the contrary of what they had written. At other times, their embarrassing testimony is merely passed over in silence. Occasionally, one insults them or tries to mask one's anger by casting doubt on their evidence, thus attempting to discredit them. These altered, falsified quotations are quite serious to the extent that they give the layman the illusion of authenticity. As early as 4000 BCE, Egyptian documents indicate that the Meroitic Sudan was a prosperous country, which maintained commercial ties with Egypt. Gold was plentiful. About that time, the Meroitic Sudan probably transmitted to Egypt the 12 hieroglyphics that were the first embryonic alphabet. See, 12. It was 12 first. Yeah. 12 glyphs or the metaneta. Yeah. After several attempts at conquest, Sudanese and Egyptians became allies and joined forces in expeditions to the Red Sea, led by Pepe I, sixth dynasty. Nubia was then governed by a king named Una, who, under the successor of Pepe I, became governor of Upper Egypt. That alliance lasted at least until the 12th Egyptian dynasty, Sesostris the first. Then you successfully set up a trusteeship over Nubia. But the yoke is rejected under Sesostris II in circumstances that make Egypt itself fear invasion. Ramparts and fortresses are erected between the first and second cataracts to stop the Nubians. Egypt is so uneasy that it appeals to Bedouin tribes led by the certain Abshal from Syria. In 4 campaigns, Sestros III puts an end to that threat. The border is restored upriver, where new fortresses are built, at the same time that new stela is erected barring the passage of blacks. That's from Pedro's page 45. Except for the incorrect use of the term blacks, which ends the quotation, and for which the author, known to be a man of goodwill, is not entirely responsible. That passage reveals the nature of the facts that prompted the stela of Philae. They show that at a given moment, the Sudanese ally nearly conquered Egypt, which, for that reason, organized its defense, whence the stela of Phila or Philae. Thus, it could not possibly mean what others would like to see it mean. From the Battle of Danke, 15th century, to that of Gwili, 19th century, Cayer and Djolof experienced the same periodic antagonism as Egypt and Nubia. Did that make Kayorians and Djolof any less Negro? No, it didn't. All right, here's the last little bit of this chapter. We have some pictures. All the lights are on now. Chapter 8. All right, so it says 34. We're in the 34th depiction. The Tower of Babel. Example of the restoration of monuments. The tower is in the background with the hanging gardens of Babylon in front of it. I love that I get to show you. His heart love will read it. The African Origin of Civilization, Myth or Reality by Dr. Cheikh at the Diop. Right. You see that? All right. Now, 35. Zimbabwe. The falcon and crocodile are echoes of Egypt. Photo by Summers. 8th chapter. Thank you so much. Awesome. And 36 from Zimbabwe. Cyclopean architecture. The stones are placed one on the other without cement to hold them together. So thankful and grateful for all I have now and all that is coming to me. Thank you so much. Reading these books. Grimacing Swiss Mask. This is 37. Now, remember what he was saying. They had a very deterred way of looking at nature and life. 37. That's scary. All right. And now a Congolese cubist mask. Compare with the preceding figure. Now look how proportioned and beautiful this is. See? Congolese. Absolutely gorgeous. Proportioned as well. Peace, YouTube. Thank you for the likes and subs. Highest heart love. What a beautiful day. All right. 39. Ife or Ife, Nigeria head. Compare to the Kofisher with the Urias of the Egyptian pharaoh. Urias, snake part at the top. Okay. Isn't that beautiful? Absolutely. All right. And 40. Benin bronze head. Court dignitary. British Museum cast Nigeria. Courtesy of the American Museum of Natural History. Some more stuff they stole and have in museums. Beautiful. Benign. Look just like it, right? They look almost just alike. And from completely different tribes. Isn't that beautiful? All right. And last one. Tower of Gao Mosque, resembling a step pyramid. This is the tomb of Asclepius. Thank you for being here and reading with us. I will put a brief vocabulary in the description when it's complete uploading, and it'll be in the playlist. Thank you so much. Look how beautiful that is. It's a mosque and resembles a step pyramid, right? Absolutely wonderful. On days and nights. Bismillah. Rahman El Shadim. All right. We're going into chapter. Whoa. Look at that. Eyes hard love. All right. The African origin of civilization, myth, or reality by Dr. Cheikh Anta. And I'm your narrator and moderator, Uriel Riley. Thank you so much for being here and reading with us, shaking it up on YouTube, reading books. Yeah, that's what we have to do. Keep unifying, light workers. So grateful and thankful. Let's give honor and to our friends and family as well. And let's have a glass of love water for all our friends in those new solar returns, right? Highest heart love to you. Keep lighting up the light. Keep shining your light out there. We're doing it. Glass of love water to all our friends and family and those that have elevated. We love you. Oh, I love you. I love you. I love you. That's some great love water. Highest heart love. I wish you have a wonderful day, and I will see you soon, okay? When we reconvene with the new chapter coming in. Highest heart love. I, love you. I love you, 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 you. You. You know it. because I love myself. Going to the amethyst cloud tonight, right? Shine our light. Going to the amethyst cloud. Look at this that I pulled out. See, I told you I'm reading all the time, collecting. I collect newspapers and everything. Look at this. Just get a glimpse of this. Think about what could have been. What about if that happened? It'd be a whole different world. Mm, mm. I like to collect papers and read papers, so I wanted to leave you with that great thought. Highest heart love. I will see you soon. Peace, peace.